So I was thinking, why did Cell tell Piccolo his entire plan, not thinking that maybe Piccolo was suppressing himself or had a plan of escape? This brought up other questions. Why was Cell not suspicious of how the group got so much stronger in such a short time, or even how he let himself forget about the other fighters in the final beam clash against Gohan? These questions swirling in my head caused me to make a rash decision, to reread the manga to see if Cell's actions were justified, or if Cell is just Dragon Ball's most overrated villain. Before I go into Cell's story, I would like to give context to what Toriyama was thinking while writing this section of the story. As many have stated before, Toriyama at the time of making the Cell saga was forced to make new villains until we got the perfect Cell. His editor didn't like the villains he was making, but this caused Cell to look extremely stupid when he was introduced, and especially when he took center stage within the story. So let's get into it. In Cell's introduction in chapter 360 of the Dragon Ball manga, we first learn about Cell as Kami senses his unnatural nature and fears for the Earth's safety. This is even what causes him to finally agree to fusing with Piccolo. This intro is great for setting up Cell's threat. Kami, even after knowing the androids were much stronger than even Goku and Vegeta, was still unwilling to fuse. With this power, it was just too much for even the god of the earth to handle. Piccolo flies to Ginger Town, now with more power than ever, and when we land, we see a harrowing sight. Clothes scattered on the ground, implying a terrible fate to the people who lived in the city. We and Piccolo see a green bug-like monster with black spots. Piccolo watches as Cell absorbs a human in an eyesore of a scene. We watch this old man have his life drained from him until being a raisin on the ground, dead. Cell powers up before beginning a battle with Piccolo. I really like how Cell is formed the DNA of Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Frieza, because it gave a lot of mystery to Cell. You may be wondering why Cell is the most overrated villain when I have been saying only positive things. But this is where Cell pretty much peaks for a long period of the story. Cell begins the fight, being easily blasted away. Piccolo manhandled Cell, giving extreme whiplash since he was hyped up so much before this fight. Cell then fires out a Kamehameha at Piccolo, confirming that he can use the powers of the people he has in his DNA. Piccolo dodges, but Cell uses the chance to sneak up on Piccolo and stab his arm. Cell gets extremely lucky because Piccolo could have easily decided to power up and stop him from absorbing his power. Cell, now having the advantage, now exposits even more info, like how he uses spy bots to get the cells of the fighters, and how he has all 5 of the fighters' moves in his DNA. Cell, for some reason, then exposits his need for the androids to reach his perfect form, and how he time traveled. Cell didn't need to say these things, which ruins his sneaky approach since Piccolo and every other fighter now knows what they need to do to stop his plans. Cell is surprised that Piccolo could not only regenerate, but also how he was holding back. He should have sensed Piccolo powering up from the fusion with Kami in the lookout, showing that Cell is already incompetent, as he didn't even use his ki sense properly. Trunks and Krillin arrive, giving Cell the chance to use the solar flare to escape the situation. Cell's introduction started out really well, but ended up making Cell seem really incompetent and even stupid. Cell revealing his backstory of being an android allowed for Trunks and Krillin to realize that they need to go to Dr. Gero's lab to destroy it, and even got them to switch plans to destroy the androids using their bomb. Cell revealing his goal also bites Cell in the ass many a time later in the story, which was completely unnecessary of a risk to take. Cell knows that Piccolo can use telepathy and could use it to tell everybody about Cell before he died. Cell also didn't realize that Piccolo was holding back, showing that he didn't use his ki sense well, as he would have realized that Piccolo had more power because he would have sensed him powering up when he first appeared after fusing with Kami. Cell makes terrible mistakes which pretty much ruin his sneaky approach. If the Z-Fighters had searched for just a bit longer, then Cell would have likely have been found and killed. Cell was literally in a building that Piccolo was on the bottom of. Cell got lucky that he wasn't caught. Let's see if Cell can recover from his mixed first appearance. Piccolo, after a hard-fought battle with 17, is able to get the advantage over the android. Suddenly, Cell returns, somehow stronger than ever. He quickly shows that he is far stronger than the androids, as he dominates 17 with ease. Even when Piccolo joins in, it is a losing effort. Piccolo gets demolished, as even his strongest attacks barely affect Cell. Piccolo is blasted through by Cell before going after 17 once again. 16 saves him, matching Cell's strength, and briefly getting an edge by blasting him into a divot. Cell uses this opportunity to sneak up on android 17, making him and 16 think they won, and then absorbing the android. Cell has actually been amazing, as he has shown much more cunning and is now actually a lot more menacing due to his increasing strength. I would complain about how Cell absorbing regular humans got so strong so fast, but Golden Frieza exists, so it isn't really valid. Now with Cell in his semi-perfect form, you would think he would be better, but sadly he becomes a lot worse. Cell starts by demolishing 16, then manipulating android 18 by using 17's voice, which was actually really smart. Semi-perfect Cell is then held off off by Tien. I love Tien, but Cell letting somebody thousands of times weaker than him hold him off is just embarrassing. But damaging him too? That's just, oh my god. As Tien is on the verge of death from his gamble, Goku teleports in. Semi-perfect Cell somehow allows Goku to escape, even though he is hundreds of times weaker than him in his base. Goku was using instant transmission, but Cell should have been able to blitz him because of the speed gap, but not because he is either stupid or incompetent. Cell then goes after Android 18 once again. The embarrassment continues as Vegeta arrives in Super Saiyan. Cell, instead of thinking of how Vegeta might have gotten stronger or might be holding back, instead acts cocky, allowing for Vegeta to access grade 2 of Super Saiyan. Vegeta bodies Cell, and this should have been Cell's end. Vegeta pummels him for multiple chapters and episodes, but Cell finds his way out. Not only did Krillin not press the remote to kill 18, something that realistically wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the exact circumstances that happened, but Vegeta helps Cell get his perfect form, thinking that he is invincible. It was smart that he took advantage of Vegeta's pride, but he was lucky that Trunks didn't just go grade 3 and create a large attack to kill him instead of just fighting his father. Krillin, Android 16, and Android 18 are blinded by a solar flare, before 18 is finally absorbed by Cell. Cell may have gone through some growing pains, but there is no way that Cell's perfect form will underperform. Right? Perfect Cell demolishes Krillin, and yes, even the almighty Super Vegeta. Vegeta can't even damage the Bio Android. Maybe this form of Cell isn't that bad. Wait, what? He underestimated his opponent again, making the exact same mistake that his opponent, Vegeta, made right in front of his face. Vegeta charges up his final flash, firing the technique at the overconfident android. Cell should have died, but got lucky that Piccolo didn't tell Vegeta and or Trunks about Cell's regeneration back in Ginger Town. Cell has his right side of his body destroyed, but regenerates it thanks to Piccolo being inept and sharing his knowledge. If Vegeta had just fired the final flash a little more to the right, he would have killed Cell. Cell dog walks Vegeta and forces Trunks to show off grade 3 of Super Saiyan. Cell gets lucky again with how Trunks decides to talk to Krillin instead of immediately firing out a giant burning attack at Cell. Cell would have died again. Trunks gets dominated due to grade 3's terrible speed as Cell even uses his own version by buffing himself up with Ki. Cell wins as Trunks surrenders with his tail between his legs. Cell allows Trunks to live since he wants to see the fruits of Goku's training in the time chamber. Cell, even in his perfect form, has shown to be incompetent to the point where he should have died twice already, and he has only been around for less than half an hour in universe. How could it get worse? After creating the Cell Games arena, he announces the Cell Games to the world, another unnecessary mistake. If he hadn't announced the games on TV, Hercule would have not been there and thrown 16's head to awaken Gohan. Cell didn't need to risk people ruining his tournament since he knew that there was no one strong besides the Z fighters. Cell is attacked by the military and obviously easily kills them, showing his brutality. At least Cell isn't as bad as someone like Goma, who is very inconsistent in how he acts, not wanting to kill a baby 1 minute and torturing his people of his world in another with his police force. The day of fate for the Cell Games arrives in chapter 395. After the Z fighters Aura farm, Hercule steps up. Cell slaps him into a mountain. This was a huge mistake. Cell knows that Hercule is not strong yet kept him alive, which allowed him to mess with his battle with Gohan. Goku steps up next, giving Cell the fight he wanted since he was born in his larva state. This battle is one of Dragon Ball's best fights. I won't criticize Cell here since it is a battle against one of the most skilled fighters, so of course he would be put on the back foot. Goku eventually lands a Kamehameha using instant transmission and blasts the top of Cell's body off. Cell gets lucky again, as if Vegeta, Trunks, or even Piccolo had told Goku about Cell's regeneration, Cell would have died, but this isn't Cell's fault, so it isn't really that much of a big deal. Cell puts Goku on the back foot, but shockingly Goku actually decides to surrender and put in Gohan instead. Cell was lucky that not only did he get a senzu bean from Goku, but also that Gohan was scared of fighting, or he might have lost to Gohan. Gohan was confirmed to be stronger than Goku, blow off the top half of Cell. Of course, Cell was actually holding back against Goku, which is shown later against Gohan in Super Saiyan 2, but it is likely wouldn't have made much of a difference. Cell would have likely maintained his power slightly increased, being stronger but with far less stamina. Cell would have not gotten the chance to self-destruct since he would have been shocked by being bodied by Gohan and fatigued as well. That Gohan would have actually been able to win, especially with him not being cocky. Let's return to the actual fight. Cell pummels Gohan after only a bit of resistance. Cell gets the advantage because of Gohan fearing fighting, not Cell himself. Cell's main motivation in this arc is to be feared. His entire plan after the Cell Games was to hunt down humans and make every every human on the planet fear him. Gohan not fearing Cell makes Cell annoyed. Cell then not only destroys the Senzu Beans, but also creates Cell Juniors, which is actually really smart. Summoning the Cell Juniors not only puts pressure on Gohan, completes his goal of making Gohan fear him, and allows for all of the insignificant fighters to be killed without messing with his fight. Destroying the Senzu Beans was also smart since it didn't allow for any Zenkais for the Saiyans or full heals for the other fighters. I also don't blame Cell for nearly being destroyed by 16's bomb since he didn't have the knowledge to know if 16 even had a bomb, let alone that he could activate his bomb himself. The battlefield is in complete chaos with everyone being beaten badly. Gohan watches too scared to move. Cell's previous mistake of not killing Hercule bites him in the ass as he is the one who sends 16's head to Gohan. I don't blame Cell for destroying 16's head since, well, he's evil, but this is what causes Gohan to go Super Saiyan 2. Gohan not only kills Cell Juniors, but then goes to absolutely dogwalk Cell. Nothing works. Cell stops holding back, tries to destroy Earth. He buffs up at using his own version of Grade 3, but all of it does nothing and only causes Cell to get more injured. But he also loses Android 18 as well. This, of course, leads to Cell's desperation and expansion into a bomb to destroy Earth. People act like Cell would have done this at any other point in the fight if he was losing. This is untrue. He only did it here because of him not only reverting forms but also being left with no option. If Gohan wasn't cocky in Super Saiyan 2 and or didn't hit Cell into a semi-perfect form, Cell loses again. Lucky for the Z fighters, Goku teleports Cell to King Kai to destroy him. Cell then regenerates from this, meaning he can survive even self-destruction, which will be important later. Cell, instead of using the chance to think, immediately uses his copied instant transmission to return to Earth. Cell kills Trunks, a smart move since it would allow him to put Gohan off his game. Cell also reveals how he regenerates by using his nucleus, which was completely unnecessary besides giving everyone a fighting chance. Cell continues to underestimate his opponents over and over, which is his biggest flaw. Vegeta rages out at his son's death, but gets him slapped by Cell, forcing Gohan to injure his arm to save Vegeta. This was good that Cell did this because it would lead to the second strongest fighter to die, even better to weaken the strongest fighter, which is what happened. Gohan with his injured arm faces Cell in one last beam struggle. Cell doing this is smart since he is basically guaranteeing a shot of winning because of Gohan's injury. Cell seemingly is about to win, but all of his previous mistakes bite him in the back. Vegeta blasts Cell's back, leaving him wide open to be defeated by Gohan's full rage. Cell had created Cell Juniors while he was in the other world after his self-destruction. He could have not only killed the pest that would have intervened in the original beam clash, but he had his own helpers to easily allow him to win against Gohan. Another mistake he made was not self-destructing. If he had just done it or so right after he injured Gohan, he would have guaranteed victory and killed every fighter. Cell's biggest mistake as a villain was continuing to underestimate his opponents, to the point where he would have lost many a time if the heroes also didn't make mistakes. Many view Cell as smart and cunning, but the majority of the time, especially in his semi-imperfect form, Cell acts like an idiot, who not only underestimates his opponents, but also has zero foresight beyond the short term. If Cell had just thought a bit more ahead, he could have won against the Z fighters many times. Cell underestimating his opponents isn't a bad thing for his character. We see this with Vegeta, who in this arc alone underestimates Android 20, 18, and even Cell himself. These moments show Vegeta that he is wrong and punishes him for it. My issue is that Cell never learns, even though he is supposed to be this creature with the DNA of the best fighters. I know that Vegeta is in his DNA and why he acts like this most of the time. Cell also has Frieza and King Cold. Frieza did underestimate Goku and Namek, but after he realized his strength when he got Super Saiyan, Frieza showed his true might and even made strategies to kill Goku, like using the Destructo Disc like Krillin did to him. While Cell does go all out when Gohan goes Super Saiyan 2, he doesn't use strategy, but instead baby rages and has a fit attempting to destroy the Earth or using Grade 3 knowing it won't work at all. This video isn't called Why Cell is a Bad Character, because he isn't. Cell being a crash out isn't a bad thing, but people act like Cell is this methodical villain who is extremely intelligent, but that is further from the truth. The Android and Cell sagas are arcs about characters making terrible mistakes. Goku forces Gohan to fight Cell, Vegeta allows Cell to go perfect, Piccolo allows Cell to escape, etc. In this arc about characters making mistakes, Cell makes the most mistakes and should not be treated as this competent and respected villain, but what he truly is, an abomination of a life who is childish, dumb, and has zero emotional regulation, even though he's trying to make everyone feel fear. Viewing Cell in this light improves his character, but also shows that he is not a threatening villain, unlike the greats of Vegeta, Frieza, and even Majin Buu. Cell should not be viewed with these greats of villainy, but only as the overrated one, who's unable to accept his imperfections. This is why Cell is Dragon Ball's most overrated villain. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like because it shows me that you enjoyed the video. If you have anything you think was incorrect or you disagree with, comment it below. If you want to continue your great day on YouTube, here's a video I think you will enjoy.